Hello everyone. We, the Group 7 of Section B IMI New Delhi, are presenting you the Strategic Management Project where our topic of discussion is Indian paint industry. Our group members are Isha Agarwal, Jatin Agarwal, Rajdeep Naha, Shubham Devkar, Varnika Singhal and me Anish Das. So let's start the discussion. In recent times, growth in India's paint sector has been an outlier in the overall domestic consumer space. The industry has been witnessing a gradual shift in terms of consumer preferences from the traditional whitewash to better quality paints. Besides, it is also witnessing healthy competitive environment where players are applying different strategies to trap the growing demand in the market for a larger regional share. The domestic paint industry has grown at a rate of 10.4% from financial year 2008, when the market was valued at 159 billion, to the financial year 2020, when the market size reached 520 billion. Over the years, the decorative paint segment, which has a market share of almost 75 to 80%, has grown at a rate of 11.4% CAGR against the industrial segment, which has a market share of roughly 20 to 25%, has grown at a CAGR of 7.9%. Now, let's look at some stats about this industry. The paint industry in India is estimated at 50,000 crore. As we have discussed, it has been growing at a CAGR of almost 10.4%. Currently, the organized players account for 65% of the market, while the remaining belong to unorganized firms. The top five players are estimated to control over 80% of the organized market. India's share in world paint market is about 0.6%, and per capita consumption of paint in India is 1.2 kg per annum.
So now we will see the segments of Indian paint industry. Basically, the Indian paint industry comprises of two different segments. First is the decorative segment, comprises of almost 70% of the market share. And second is the industrial segment, which is almost 30% of the market share. And the decorative segment, it has firstly premium range products, high-end acrylic emulsion products, which are basically preferred in the metros and the large cities. Then it has medium range enamel paints, which are basically preferred by the users residing in small cities. At the end, it has distemper or low-end paints, basically preferred by the users residing in semi-urban and rural areas. Under industrial segment, which comprises of 30% of the market share, consists of automobile sector, which is almost two-thirds of the market share of the industrial segment. Then it has consumer durable and the marine products. Now, we will look for the key drivers for the growth in the Indian paint industry. The first and the foremost reason is urbanization. More and more people are shifting from temporary to the permanent houses. And people opting for permanent houses are also like to live in a well-designed and a good-looking house. As a result, more houses are painted and using medium and the premium ranges of paint, which gradually increase the sales. Then, as with the time, income and the education level is increasing day by day. Our economy is gradually shifting from saving to the spending economy. With more spending, the standard of living increases, and the paint is no exception from this. Then most people residing in rural market will prefer the distemper segment of paints, which is basically dominating by unorganized players. And with the time, the distribution level also increases in these areas. The next is the infrastructure. The success of the paint industry is highly dependent on the development of realty in the housing sector. With more and more development that in the automobile, FMCG, and other industry where the paint is used, the demand for the paint is also increasing, which led to their success. Last is the organized sector. As increase in the development and the demand of the paints, the sectors and the distribution network is also growing. The adoption of automatic machines at retail outlets will also help the sectors to grow at a faster pace.
Goals of the paint industry. Every business needs to set clear goals and objectives for steering progress to boost its revenue and expand its market share. Painting companies are no exception. We need goals to path our ways ahead. Some of the goals of the paint industry are building a strong customer base, and to be the forerunner of inspiring decor and to actively empower customers to create their dream homes. Ensuring customer satisfaction by providing superior quality and variety of paints. set long-term growth objectives, and to leverage the growth opportunities created by the increase in the infrastructure push by the government, generate strong revenue streams, and to take advantage of the growing disposable income of the Indian middle class. Now we come to the SWOT analysis of the company. Strength. Indian paint market has very strong potential in the terms of market share in the organized sector, and the countrywide distribution network and transportation facility available boost the transportation of the industry. The in-house production and no outsourcing also is a boon for the company. Now comes the weaknesses. The ever-expanding product mix throws some strain on the inventory management, and seasonal demand, and hence in off-season, can also lead to the cash flow problems. Opportunities. The Indian paint and coating industry is riding high on the growth in the Indian automobile industry. New construction in the housing segment is also happening, which is a good opportunity for the Indian paint industry. Threats. With the dominance of new foreign company in industrial paints, it is possible that in the future it may capture the entire industrial paint market, which can pose a severe threat for the industry. Competition is also catching up fast with high-tech facilities given abundant choices. Next, we come to the pastel analysis, which include political, economical, social, technology, environment, and legal aspect, which somehow create some impact on the industry workings. Political. India is one of the largest democratic countries in the world, which gives the leverage to the company and the industry to function in its own manner. The political situation is also stable in somehow nature, which also create an opportunity for the industry. Economical. Market-based economy and also the second fastest economy growth is something which is a boon for the industry. India is the third largest in purchasing power, and of FDI in the paint sector is also something which is favorable in the industry. Social. India is the second largest populated country, and the rise in the price of raw material gives us abundant opportunities for the industry to grow, which also enhances the import of the raw materials. Technology. Modernization of paint, which includes waterproof, Teflon, creating color shops, gives abundance of choices for the retailers to go ahead. Emergence of IT sectors and lead-free paints. Legal. Impact of volatile organic compounds, lead-free paints, seasonal and climate change also create an impact for the industry. Talking about the environmental, we have pollution control law, health and safety law, and environmental law, which assess the industry and also help it grow.
In order to understand the market of a particular brand and its perception on a customer, we need to analyze the competitive rivalry within an industry. In order to understand that, we have found out 4 different threats for a paint industry. The threat of new entrants. We have analyzed it to be a medium threat because the paint market in India is already dominated by few big players, and the market is very difficult for newcomers to compete in the industry. The working capital needed is very high, which causes the local players to find it very difficult to enter the market itself. The second threat is the threat of substitute products. The threat of substitute product for a paint industry is very low. Customers are more price sensitive because of the number of options are available, and the decisions are based on completely depending on quality, price, and other differentiating factors of big market players. The industry segment is low margin, high revenue business. Buyers of these segments are knowledgeable about the needs. Thus, they effectively compare different brands before buying it, and then they opt for a particular brand. The third threat that we have identified is the power of suppliers. The power of suppliers is considered to be medium threat because the Indian paint industry is dependent on raw materials, which there are many products. There are more than 300 to 400 products that are required to manufacture the final product. The key pigment used in the production of paint are facing a global supply shortage, which becomes a materialistic problem for this particular industry to thrive on. The next problem is the power of customers, which we have identified as to be medium. About 80% of the organized market is created by major players of Indian paint industry. But the current market growth rate can provide ample room for opportunity for all the players of the industry to flourish. Also, the pressure of an unorganized sector can also create some sort of disruption within the market. So overall, in the competitive rivalry, we have considered it to be low to medium because about 80% of the organized sector is dominated by just 2 big market players. But the current market growth can provide ample room of opportunity for all the players of the industry. And in order to grow in this industry, the unorganized sector should also be handled properly.
So next, we are coming to quantitative analysis and competitive analysis of 4 companies that are considered to be peers that is Asian Paints, Berger Paints, Kansai Nerolac, and AkzoNobel Paints. So first, we'll look at the 5-year CAGR, that is compounded annualized growth rate of revenue for the 4 companies. The 5-year annual CAGR of Asian Paints, Berger Paints, Nerolac Paints, and AkzoNobel is somewhat similar, but from that we can say that Asian Paints for the top 3 companies are having a CAGR of around 8%, whereas AkzoNobel is having a CAGR of around 1.9%. So this shows the dominance of top 3 companies in the paint industry. Next, we are coming to the ROCE, that is return on capital employed. This is considered as one of the most important criteria to judge the efficiency, or let's say the performance of the company. In this, we can see that the Asian Paints, although being the largest of the all 4 companies, that is being the biggest paint company in India, its ROCE is around 33.8%, which is much higher than the remaining 3. So next coming on to the right hand side, we can see that the net profit growth for 5 years is around 14% for Asian Paints, 20% for Berger Paints, around 13.7% for Kansai Nerolac Paints, and around 10.2% to AkzoNobel. So although revenue is growing at a CAGR of 8%, we can see that the net profit is growing at a much faster pace. This is because operational efficiencies creep into the business, and we observe that the net profit of great companies is always higher than the revenue CAGR. Net profit CAGR is higher than the revenue CAGR. Next, coming to the debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity ratio shows how much is the debt of the company compared to the equity. So it is 0.11% for Asian Paints, 0.29% for Berger Paints, 0.05 for Nerolac, and 0.05 for AkzoNobel. So this shows that AkzoNobel and Kansai Nerolac are in much better position compared to the first 2. Next, we can see that the PE ratio, that is the price to earning ratio, this price is taken as the current market price of the stock trading in the stock market. So this is 96% for Asian Paints, 96.9 for Asian Paints, 110 for Berger Paints, 64.4 for Kansai Nerolac, and 59.6 for AkzoNobel. So we can say that the first 2 companies are more expensive than the third and the fourth company. Next, we can see that the operating profit margin. The operating profit margin, we can see that Asian Paints is enjoying the highest operating profit margin among all the 4 companies, that is 19.3%. So this shows the operational efficiencies of the company, that company is able to generate more profit from the revenue it's generating. Okay, so next is the EV to EBITDA, that is enterprise value to EBITDA. This also shows how much is the valuation of the company. This is another parameter for valuation. So that is also high for first 2 companies, that is around 60% for both Asian Paints and Berger Paints, whereas around 40 and 30 for Kansai Nerolac and AkzoNobel respectively. So here we can see that the first 2 companies are dominating. From all this analysis, we can conclude that the first 2 companies are dominating the paint industry in India. So why is Kansai Nerolac and AkzoNobel not able to do it? Not able to dominate as much as Asian Paints and Berger Paints. The answer lies in the left-hand side bottom chart, that is return on capital employed. Therefore, we consider return on capital employed to be one of the deciding parameters for the performance of the company. Return on capital employed minus the cost of capital is equal to the free cash flow, and that free cash flow gets redeployed in the business to generate to expand. So we can see that the return on capital employed is higher for Asian Paints and Berger Paints compared to the remaining 2, Kansai Nerolac and AkzoNobel. So if we assume that let's say on an average is 30%, whereas we can say that we know that the corporate cost of debt is around 15% or so. So 30% approx minus 15%, that is cost of debt, is equal to free cash flow, that is around 15%. So we can see that 15% free cash getting generated and getting redeployed in the business for the first 2 companies. That's why we can see that the share price of Asian Paints and Berger Paints are rising at a CAGR of around 15 to 20% for the last around 50 years or 5 decades or so. So this is how we have done the quantitative analysis of the 4 companies: Asian Paints, Berger Paints, and Kansai Nerolac, and AkzoNobel.
No growth is possible without strategy. So our paint industry should also have some strategy in order to enhance their growth in the upcoming years. So companies should give proper attention to the painters enhancement, safety training, and also safety gloves, which will increase maximum amount of word of mouth publicity through them. After application and decantation, no one can judge about the brand of paint used. Due to this reason, consumers do not insist too much for a specific brand. So this gives the dealers an opportunity to recommend a particular brand to the people so that they get the maximum profit. Also, nowadays, celebrities influence the consumers for a particular brand. So companies use this as an opportunity to endorse their premium brands and target on high income groups. However, companies who are not able to afford celebrity endorsement for their brand should go for heavy paint schemes. If two companies offer equal profit, the dealers tend to promote a particular company where the senior management gives them more importance by paying more visits and personal calls. Hence, senior management should spare time to meet the dealers and involve them. Coming to the future prospects of the paint industry, the Indian paint industry is expected to grow steadily in the short and medium term on the back of a strong growth in the Indian economy. By 2030, Indian middle class is expected to have a second largest share in global consumption at 17%, which could drive demand for the paint industry. Going forward, a rise in the disposable income, incremental consumption, expenditure, and development of rural markets will fuel the paint industry's growth in these areas. The Indian waterproofing market, valued at 0.7 billion, is underutilized as compared to China's 22 billion market. Thus, there is a lot of headroom to grow in this segment in the next 15 to 20 years. Some paint manufacturers, though marginal players till now, plan to expand their market share in adhesives and sealants market, which may intensify competition in the years to come. Growing demand from the construction industry, coupled with raising infrastructure activities, will also drive the demand for the paint industry. On behalf of Group 7 of Section B, I would like to conclude this presentation by saying that the Indian paint industry has been witnessing a gradual shift in the preferences of people from traditional whitewash to high-quality paints like emulsions and enamel paints, which is providing the basic stability for the growth of Indian paint industry. Besides, it is creating a strong competitive market where players are utilizing different strategies to tap the growing demand in the market for a larger share. Moreover, the rise in disposable income of the average middle class people, coupled with increasing investment in education, urbanization, development of rural market, and various launches of many innovative products like friendly and odor-free, also dust and water-resistant paints are major drivers that are propelling the growth of the paint market in India.